Welcome to New Game Plus. You're listening to a retro gaming podcast where three guys spend 7 days playing one old game and then we talk about it. My name's Dustin.
My name's Kenny.
Nolan here.
And you are listening to and/or watching episode 274. Microsoft is interested in buying Discord for over $10 billion.
That's a lot of money.
Please don't.
Please don't. Because I feel like they ruin everything. They bought Minecraft, and Minecraft's still around, so they didn't kill it.
Okay.
But they did put a little branding here and there, and I don't want, like, Discord is so third party, it's so for the people. Don't do something stupid with it, please.
I'm optimistic they've learned their lesson and that they're gonna just own it and not screw with it too much.
Do you remember Skype?
Yeah, I'm not.
Oh my god. Skype is literally. Do you remember how bad it was for how long?
It was one of the
so
first.
long.
It was one of the first, so like props, but it's trash, and they wouldn't fix it. You can update programs.
And the thing is, if Skype was good, do you know how much money they would have made last year?
Dude,
Right,
hundreds
exactly.
of billions of dollars. Like Zoom
Opportunity
made
taken.
bank.
Okay, but here's the thing. The fact is, Discord is probably going to sell. That's just it. Like,
10
guys,
billion,
I
yeah.
know Discord is great, but Nitro isn't cutting it. For them.
No, it's definitely not. It's definitely not.
So the question is not whether to sell, but who to sell to, and is there someone better than Microsoft?
Yeah.
Yeah, I'd rather Microsoft than Amazon, honestly.
Yes, because Microsoft has done gaming for over a decade now. They know well, longer than that, but like with the Xbox and everything, they at least are in the space. Amazon isn't.
Now, I bet Discord got some growth this last year due to everything that was going on, but they could have, you know how it's been branded for gamers? And it started that way, and you've got to start somewhere, that's fine. But if they would have branded a business version of it this last year or something like that, I think they would have taken the place of what is businesses use? Slack.
Oh, Slack.
Something
yeah.
like
Slack's
that, yeah.
great. I like Slack. I use it
Or
for
even
work.
Zoom. This could have done all of that, maybe.
Yeah.
Zoom,
Yeah.
maybe.
Well, Microsoft has Teams, and that's their business one. That's the one that they sell to companies. But Discord did recent updates this last year where they wanted to branch out away from gaming, and they were like, we want to support small communities, podcasts, all that stuff. And I wonder if it was just like them being like, hey, businesses, we're not just gaming.
That's what's happening. They're getting it ready.
No, it's because they heard we host a podcast.
Oh, yeah,
and everybody listens to us and makes all of their decisions based on the conversations we have.
And we're almost partner, by the way. So if you're not part of the Discord chatting community, join our Discord and we can get partner on Discord. And I don't know what that means, but it's cool.
It is cool. Go to ngppodcast.com, and from there you can find our Discord information, or really any of our social sites. You can find our Discord information and join. This is where we are on a regular basis.
And for those of you who aren't watching us on YouTube but have just listened to us, it's a chance to look at really old pictures of us on our website.
Oh, he saw? Oh,
I don't know if he saw those.
No,
you're talking about the website.
Did we up?
Nothing else?
Yeah, on the website.
Forget what I said.
Happened. You haven't been in Discord recently, so you don't know what we're talking about. Now you're worried, but just know that
you guys are not trustworthy. I have to go see what closets you emptied out of old pictures.
It's your face. You're not trustworthy.
No, live on air.
We're in the
You
middle.
guys are putting me on blast.
We're in the middle of a podcast. We need to keep moving. I'm just saying to everybody that's listening, come to our Discord. It is our go-to hotspot. Some would say our friend den. Some might even call it our say source. Like where we go to say things to one another. Our say source. Rhyming, kind of like the title of our retro game of the week, Rayforce.
Don't come to Discord and don't ever listen to us again. That was so bad.
Overview.
Rayforce is a arcade game shoot 'em up, shmup. That came out in 1994 from Taito.
I think, hey, I got corrected last week. And
Taito?
Yeah.
It's Taito?
But then we can't make potato jokes.
Listen, potato, we need to go with Taito on this one.
Taito Wido. So from Taito, and later came out on Sega Saturn, Windows, a number of other things, but is originally an arcade title. If you played it on a different console, you may know this game as Layer Section, which is a really good name for a video game.
It's really bad. You know what they're going for. But
you do, but it's so bad.
So bad, but that's not the only title.
No, it's also known as Galactic Attack or Gunlock.
That's a cool
depending
name.
on your region.
So literally 4 different titles. The same
thing. For just one game.
Right.
But that's what happens when you, I don't know, name your game Rayforce and then get in some kind of naming dispute. However, once you are playing Rayforce / Layer Section / Gunlock / Galactic Attack, you're gonna find yourself controlling a vertically scrolling ship, a futuristic fighter ship, specifically called the RVA 818 X-Lay, which is also a really great name. They just were on top of really quality names.
And then the antagonist that you'll get to eventually in the plot, I'm sure, is just called Con-Human.
Con-Human.
So naming conventions weren't their strong suit here, I don't think.
No, and that one doesn't make any sense to me. But yes, you eventually save the world.
Well, hopefully.
Hopefully, if you have enough quarters or are good enough.
Pennies.
From this massive supercomputer that has taken over and inhabited Earth, and you do that by doing normal shoot 'em up kinds of things, running around on the screen, forward, backwards, fighting other airships, killing Gundams, all kinds of things. However, you're not just doing that on your layer of the screen. You also have this sort of removed background layer where things are happening on the ground or further back in space as you're kind of top-down viewing things.
It's like there's layer sections, you would say.
It's like there's layer sections. So bad. It was just the worst naming. But those sections you can attack enemies through your secondary weapon, which unlike a lot of games isn't a bomb, isn't some kind of clear screen, whatever. It's a targeting laser that you can kill enemies with.
Okay.
And
hold on.
That's Rayforce.
Yeah,
going too far.
Then now go into aged, and then go ahead and give me thoughts.
Just tell them everything about
you
the
do
game.
That sometimes. A couple of thoughts and questions and conversation points up front.
Hit me.
Potato had done really well in the space shoot 'em up scene at the time. They came onto the scene at least early on with Space Invaders, which of course is the most classic one.
Yep.
They then did the Darius series, which we have played Darius Twin.
We played Darius Twin?
Yeah.
Yes. Darius Twin, which was a childhood staple of mine when I went to cousin's house, and I loved that game, and I believe we did not give it our vote because of you guys.
Really?
I think I would have to go back and check. I know that y'all gave it strife that week, if nothing else. But it's going to lead me into the second conversation that we just need to have the space shooter conversation from the start in our overview, because I need y'all to understand something. You might not be good at a game, but you've got to understand when games have quality. I love the straight face that Kenny's going for and the non-straight face that Nolan's going for. But Kenny, why I'm saying this is because last time when we played space shooters before, for some reason, I'm better at this game than y'all by a lot.
Hey.
And y'all's by a lot. And y'all's badness at it has caused y'all to dislike some of these games, and I'm worried.
That's cap.
Listen, that has nothing to do with anything. I'm not good at football, but I can still watch it and appreciate it and say that it's a fine game. That has nothing to do with where I land on this
You're
game.
right. It shouldn't.
You're paranoid. You're already trying to defend this game because you love it before we've even talked about it.
He's already mad.
And you don't even know my opinions about it.
Exactly. And I am decent at these games, not bad. You're just good at them. you're noticeably good at them, and you're not good at all games. And so that's why when you play them, I'm like, oh, that's pretty good. I don't remember Darius Twin, so I can't really speak to that. But
great.
You know, what other conversation do you want to have about space shooters? I've only played like 4 or 5.
I mean,
his conversation is, I happen to excel at these games, and outside of RPGs, this is the one genre I really like. So you guys better agree with me.
No,
outside of any other context. That's what he's saying.
Well, let me talk. What is your deal? The conversation is simply this. I get how these kinds of games can be uber frustrating because there's so many ways to die. And especially for an arcade game where they want you to die, you know, more than usual. And so I can see how that can tend to sometimes get in the way of enjoyment or recognizing how quality a game is. And I have PTSD RVA818XLA from Darius Twin, and that's just carrying over to this one.
All right.
So you're saying if there's game mechanics that get in the way of enjoying a game, then we should still say it's a good game?
If there's game mechanics that are too hard for you, then yes, we should still say it's a good game. If it's too hard for your teeny baby hands and brain to process and be able to avoid all the missiles,
wow,
he's
get
going
to the
in.
I hope we get something with like in-depth strategy next week so that I can flip this soapbox on you and just stand up there and say, if you're not willing to micromanage units and economies, you don't deserve to be a gamer. It's the same thing, and it's total hogwash.
Well, if you think that, then let's randomly select Civilization 3 next week and give it a go.
This is going to be interesting.
Gameplay.
Okay. Second layer of shooting. That's the big difference that we need to talk about first, because this is what sets this game apart immediately from other shooters in the genre. First thing I noticed. So Kenny mentioned it in an overview, but along with your normal shooter, which you basically just hold down a button and shoot lasers repeatedly like any other shmup. However, you also have a secondary gun that you can fire on targeted enemies that you've targeted that are on a separate layer than you, as in you can't run into them because they're below you. And they really play around with that mechanic the whole game and get very creative with it. So, did you guys like that mechanic or hate that mechanic?
I loved it. And just to be clear, it's not... So a lot of games have a secondary weapon. Even Darius Twin had a secondary weapon. I think it even called it like missiles or grenades, and it would do something different than your primary weapon.
It's like extra projectiles, yeah.
And then some games have it like this where you've got like a little grenade or something that is yours. We even played that tank game recently that was really cool, actually, that had a secondary tank. This is a lock-on laser launcher where and that's the cool part, not just that you shoot on a second plane, but that you have a set of lasers that you can get more as you progress and pick up power-ups, that then you lock on to a certain amount of enemies at a time and then unleash all of those lasers to the places that you targeted. I thought that was super cool.
Am I allowed to whine about lasers that move in like rounded shapes to like go down and hit something that's targeted?
No,
because that doesn't work with physics.
That's not how lasers work.
We don't talk about physics on video games much, but okay.
When's the last time you shot a laser? I'll ask that.
Ooh,
I don't know. Fairly recently.
What?
Yeah, wait, no, that's a lie. Lasers? First of all, what do you mean? He's lying. Okay, back to my question. I hated this mechanic.
That's not true.
Yeah, I did, and I'll tell you why.
That's not true.
I will tell you why.
You did like it, Nolan.
True. That's like someone being like, that's a bit like someone being like, Yoshi sucks.
No,
I
it's
hated
not.
that part of Mario.
No, it's not.
Yeah.
No, it's not.
Whatever.
Listen.
Oh, Tails and Sonic, he's the worst.
It is
people do
so
say that.
mandatory. And
Okay.
It's on the cover art. Lock-on laser, even the Japanese one. It's there, right? So they clearly were very, very proud of this. Okay, fine. Well, it was more of a job for me to have to always be like worrying about locking onto enough targets to kill them so that I'm not overwhelmed. Like, I had to go out of my way more than I wanted to, and it was more of a stressful mechanic than it was something that I could appreciate, because you had to do it constantly. And so I don't like having to manage 2 different planes. I was way overwhelmed. I wanted to only look at the danger in front of me, which were dodging bullets and dodging more bullets and dodging more bullets. And if I'm also locking on and having to worry about that, I'm getting hit more than normal, which is already a lot in these kinds of games. I didn't like this mechanic at all.
Here were my gripes with the mechanic. With the way you move, it being targetable only by something a set amount of space in front of you.
A set reticle.
Yeah, so
you've got like a little marker on the screen that if that's over the stuff that's under it, will let you lock on. But it's this sort of set distance from you. It really, I don't know, it felt awkward not having options to move it around or to customize it or to make it a bigger area or to do anything with it that didn't force you to move in ways that felt unsafe. Like, I need to be dodging stuff. This is a shoot 'em up that throws so many things at you, and if you're not dodging, then you're dying. And so I didn't like the set distance from your ship thing. I feel like they could have found a way of implementing it better.
They could.
And I also didn't like that there was any real thought to whether you should be using it. In the same way that in this one, you're just like holding down the shoot button, which is a fine thing for shoot 'em ups. I still don't love that mechanic either. But you're going to just be spamming the space laser button because you need to activate it as soon as you've got some stuff highlighted. You don't run out of ammo. It's not something that had to be charged up. There's no thinking that goes into it other than, if I'm able to, fly over some things and target them so that I don't have quite so much clutter on the screen later while they're further down and below me. Those were the things that bugged me about it.
This is one of those things, when like, and I don't know if y'all have seen it, but especially during like the political season and political climate, like you've got 2 people that are just on 2 opposite sides, and no matter how much they talk with one another, they're never going to see each other's side, because like they're just fundamentally from different places. I kind of asked you, did I ask you off air or on air? I think how I asked you right before we recorded how you grew up and who was your childhood best friend. It's like, because it's nature and nurture, and people just grow separately and end up in places that are fundamentally different from one another. And so while they might be able to come towards a middle ground, they're never going to see life the same way.
And you were raised not by wolves, but by giant targeting space lasers, apparently, because you're great at these games and really like this mechanic.
So an arcade game played not on an arcade cabinet is definitely noticeable to me. Less so with this game. I was able to play this one and feel like, straight up arcade. The thing I was missing a lot were the controls. My thumb hurts, guys. I was playing on a PS4 controller on a DualShock, and for whatever reason, the way I had it laid out, man, the D-pad is killing me, and you're constantly moving, and like the intensity of like how hard I'm pressing is higher than normal because I don't know, I get into it and I'm like, oh, you got to dodge that, and so my thumbs are crucially killing me this week.
See, it's a middle ground thing where I can understand that, and I agree with that. I think that is the thing that is felt not playing an arcade game not in the arcade, because in the arcade you have the joystick, and so your whole hand is being able to control where your ship is going. And this is not one of those shmups where you stay in one general area of the screen just moving left and right, because your launcher lock-on reticle is set at a fixed distance. You are moving north, south. What would that be? Because you're kind of flat, so it's not north. You're moving up the screen, down the screen, left and right, because you have to lock on things. So you're constantly moving all over the screen. So yes, I felt the pain in my thumb as well.
Right?
Not only are you moving all over the screen because you're trying to lock on with that fixed distance reticle, which you're gonna have to do a lot of. You're also moving through a lot of the screen because you have to dodge all the stuff that's coming at you. This game doesn't just throw like enemy ships at you that then shoot projectiles. It throws a variety of things, from enemy projectiles, projectiles in patterns, lasers that come from the front, lasers that twist, lasers that come from the side, bombs that then shoot, and then those bombs shoot lasers, bombs that track you, lasers that actually go in squiggly patterns, things that come out and then shoot other lasers out of them that go in specific directions. There is tons of stuff going on. And I say that just to be descriptive about the kind of game it is. It leans really hard into that crazy, chaotic, shoot 'em up sort of style, and tries its best to sort of show you what's coming, but you can't ever really be ready to sort of deal with some of that. And that's one of the things about these kinds of games that always makes me roll my eyes. I don't like games where you have to have learned the patterns or know things beforehand. And I wish this game was better. It tries to like sort of teach you that stuff and do things visually that explain what's about to happen, but you're not going to know what a black hole enemy does until the black hole gets summoned and sucks your ship towards it. You're not gonna be able to deal with all these things unless you've played the game multiple times before. And it's an arcade game. It's a quarter eater. That's what it does. But I think it's worth pointing out.
It's just a video game. I mean, like, video games do things you don't expect, and then you learn and you adapt. That's a big part of the game. But the thing that is somewhat forgiving here is that 1 quarter or token, depending on what your arcade is working with, gives you 3 lives, correct? And if you get a certain amount of points, you can get another life as well. But like you're working on 3 lives for 1 coin, so it's not instantly when your ship gets hit that you are putting in another coin. You get a few plays off of that and some iframes, a good amount, when you come back in. And what's nice is that when you do put in another quarter or token, you typically have a few of your power-ups that have scattered from your exploded ship, so that you're not starting from ground zero again. You get to recollect those so that you start in some kind of powered up state.
Yeah, I really liked that mechanic. It made you at least feel like you got some of your power back and you weren't forced to... It was less static than just like take you back a power level or something. You still had to collect them, and so it felt a little more interactive than other options.
Yeah.
I mean, and we also had unlimited continues, which was really nice because we weren't playing on an arcade.
Well, because our parents gave us a ton of coins.
Oh, your parents were rich?
I beat it this week in like 10 to 12 tokens, I think. Which is a lot, and I wouldn't typically spend in a game, and it would probably cost you all more. But I was having a conversation, I think, with some of our people in Discord this week. By the way, you can hop in our Discord. It's our friend den, our hotspot. Some would call it our safe source.
We heard
and
it's not a good joke.
You're laughing. I was talking about, I think this is all of us in the arcade. I know it's weird to say, but I didn't play those games the majority of the time to beat them. I mean, if I could beat them, that would be great. Totally. But that's not why you're playing them.
No, it's like quick sesh after a slice, go get more pizza, and then go back and play it again. Not even like, oh, let me see if I can get farther. Maybe, but I just literally wanted to sit down and play Mortal Kombat.
I felt like it depended on the kind of game, because I remember some specific games that I knew were going to be more expensive, but that I went in trying to beat. Some Turtles games, some of the Teenage Mutant Ninja Turtle games, some of the X-Men games, where again, I knew it was going to cost me a little bit, but I wanted to see if a friend and I could like get all the way through. Can we get further this time than we got last time? But I think with shoot 'em ups especially, I probably had sort of that same view of like, let's throw in a quarter and just see how long I can go. And it was 42 seconds.
In Darius Twin, again, that game, that series was known for these massive mechanical boss designs. In that series, I believe they are aquatic themed. In this one, it's not aquatic themed, but it's still massive robotic designs that have various patterns that are not just one after the other. They felt very fluid and new and different each time. Even just like one boss, like coming back to it, he's going to operate the same kind of in the ways, but in different rotations, that kind of thing. What did you guys think of the bosses? Did you get to many of them? Did you enjoy them? Obviously, they're difficult, but what did you think of their designs, of their of what they required you to do, all of that?
So I think the boss fights were really impressive. They felt epic, and that's what you want with this theme, this style of like game, giant robots. And okay, with the exception of the second boss, I got to 4 bosses. No, I only got to 3 bosses. So the second boss, I'm not a huge fan of, because it was the whole fight was like that second layer.
Is that the weird one where he phases in and out?
Yes.
Yeah, he's this one that you have to get his core with your launcher lasers.
Yeah, and there was too much of that, and I'm sure that more of the bosses utilize that mechanic, but this one was like way too much of it. I just felt like I was locking on shooting. It was like a slow fight. I like the action of like the normal shooter, how fast it shoots, and trying to do that, and you do some of that in the fights, but overall very impressed with like the overall scope of all the boss fights.
Yeah, I generally enjoyed the bosses. I love the fluidity of how much you got into and out of the boss fights, and I thought they did a pretty good job too of sort of integrating those into like where you were in the story. Like, I'm sure we'll talk about that a little bit more as we get further into this, but this game does a really cool thing where you start like in deep space, and then you're like flying towards the earth, and then you're like in the atmosphere. Yeah, and then you're flying around like on top of the planet, and then at one point the planet actually like opens up and you're flying around inside the core, and there's all this mechanical stuff, and then it ends up getting kind of Death Star style, and you know have to go and kill it. But which is way cool, but I just say that to say I felt like the bosses generally did a pretty good job of matching their sort of environment and theme. Nothing like super special there. A decent variety of, you know, kinds of different mechanics. You had the whole black hole thing and some different lasers. So it wasn't like all the bosses felt the samey, but they also weren't super unique. Pretty standard fare. But I say that to say overall I thought they did a good job.
Dustin, how many bosses are there?
8? Maybe something like that.
There's like little stuff that sort of feels like bosses too, and you go kind of in and out of it. I would have guessed, I didn't count, but I would have guessed like 12 to 15.
There's like that carrier ship thing that I thought.
There's only 7 main bosses.
Oh, okay.
The one that I enjoyed most, you're not going to know by name. I didn't either. I just looked him up. Is GPMS either -2 or just 2? I don't know. But if you got to him, which I don't think you did, Nolan, based on what you're saying, but there is a boss that is I think it's where the I don't know if it's when you're coming down to Earth or when you're already there, but there's a fissure and it has 4 arms that are latched onto the Earth around it. I've never seen this before, I don't think, in these shmups, where you can kill a boss in different kinds of ways. You can deplete its health and take it out normally, or because it's got those 4 legs attached, if you take out 2 legs on the same side, he falls and he plummets down, and that's the end of that boss battle. So it's just multiple ways to be able to beat that enemy. I thought was super cool.
That's really sick.
And I think on a couple of bosses, you do have the option of like, I want to kill all the appendages first so that I'm like safer, and then kill the core, or like, no, I'm just going to blast the core and like avoid the stuff, and it'll be faster but more dangerous. They definitely put some kind of variety and options in there, which is nice.
Power-ups are crucial in this genre, and I felt like the timing of them, I'm not sure what triggers one or if that's even within your grasp, but the ones that are like given to you, I felt like were placed in smart places. And we already mentioned the fact that you get them back, some of them back if you die. I thought the power-ups were very straightforward. They really just affect the damage and the width of the beam. But
and the color and the look.
And the color. The red one. I did see the red one later in the game, and it looks awesome. It's huge.
Yeah.
And that's, of course, that's what in any shmup. But like, yeah, I thought the power-ups were decent, or were fairly placed throughout the stages that I played.
I think it does a couple things, and I don't know this for sure. One, I think that when there's a swarm of enemies, there's typically a red ship that is in the tail end of those, and if you take out that one, it lets one of those red vials out, which I think 3 of those red vials give your main missile a power up. 1 of the yellow vials gives it a power up as well. But then one of the things that I didn't mention earlier, Kenny, Kenny, you were talking about that launcher mechanic, and Nolan, you've made it clear you don't like that launcher mechanic. Kenny, you talked about just always letting it go, and I think that's what's problematic, is that you are rewarded for the more enemies that you destroy with one launch of your lasers. Not only
with points,
but with power-ups. And so the more that you're able to do that,
the more 8.
If you do all 8, all 7, however many lasers you have at a time, you're going to get more access to power-ups more quickly than where they come on the stage. So it's not encouraging you to just launch that laser every time you've got someone in your reticle, but to get all 6, 7, 8, enemies in your launcher, or in your whatever it's called, before you let them fly.
Okay, so
that's
high
nice
risk,
to
high
know.
reward. That's
high risk, high reward.
That's fair, and especially if you like that mechanic, that's fair. But again, that just would heighten my stress levels. Like, I don't know, I just feel like I focus too much on trying to maximize that, and I'll get hit in the process. But that's balanced at least. So I didn't know that. That's cool.
Aged.
We might be going different directions, but there is no possible way, no matter which political side you land on, or your nurture nature upbringing, that we could disagree on the impeccable visuals.
Okay.
It's the atmosphere is ever shifting. Asteroids are breaking off into space. Giant ships are being torn apart. You've got collapsing towers. You've got all sorts of a variety of ships all the way through. It looks and sounds, we'll get to that, absolutely stunning.
All right. Of course, it's good. I really like how they played with perspective in this game. So Kenny mentioned earlier the seamless transitions into boss fights and whatnot. They'll also do this thing where, like, they make it look so 3D, like the camera is rotating. And it's really cool. And there's this one part in the second stage that I absolutely loved, because you're inside of a ship or something. Like, there's like a mechanical backdrop and you're shooting. And then the camera pans to the left and you see space and a massive fleet of ships. And there, of course, that targetable layer that you can do, and that was impressive.
But they're battling down there. Yeah. I noticed that in my first play, which if you haven't yet, then click the link in the annotation and you can see my first play. But I noticed that because at the same time, like right before you go out into that space, I think like you fly out of the ship a little bit, and that 3D perspective, and like you kind of fly through or under some of the pieces of the ship, and the sound. It was ridiculous. Kenny, what do you dislike about the visuals?
his face looks kind of trolly.
Okay, here's the thing about the visuals. No, you're both totally right. They nailed it. I wish I could say something bad, just to get under your skin, because it's funny, but I can't. You guys are totally right. For being completely 2D and for having a mechanic that depends on depth, like you've got to do depth well. And if you don't do this in a way that almost makes you feel like you're getting a 3D experience, you're just doing it wrong. But they absolutely nail it. They do a good job of giving you a sense of where you are. The graphics themselves look amazing, which, by the way, I hope we play some more arcade games. I know just the games listed and the place where people like their heart is a lot of nostalgia for the consoles, but you just get such a variety of different looks that like look and feel different. And can do a lot more for their age in an arcade cabinet than you do a console. And I was sitting there this week just like this thing is gorgeous. We need more arcade in our life.
Yeah. All right. So then, guys, the music, is that the same level of excellence to you as the graphics?
Almost.
Okay. Not, you know,
I really, really like the graphics. There were some things that truly set it apart. That, you know, the places they twisted the screen and played with stuff, and I was just truly blown away. I was just very impressed with the music and sound effects. They're all really, really good. A little arcadey, a little too like in-your-face space hype for me, just as like a taste, but done impeccably well.
Nolan, you didn't like the vibe?
Okay, no, Star Soldier Vanishing Earth. That's my
another game we played.
Yeah, and I like that one, mostly because nostalgia. It's on the N64.
And it's a lot slower and easier.
Very jazzy space soundtrack. A lot of the same here. I was pleased to see a lot of the jazz style coming through in this game. Tater didn't develop Star Soldier, I don't think.
Tater, no.
I don't think. Anyways, I like the music here. I think it fits. It's very decade specific. Like this felt super arcade, super space, whatever. And I always liked jazzy stuff. And then like some of the more epic tracks were actually pretty sick too. So I'm with Kenny. Not as impressive as the visuals, but that was a pretty high bar. But still super solid. And I would listen to it on its own. It was that.
Yeah, good. I probably agree with y'all. I think it's perfect for what it's going for.
Yeah.
It's not my favorite to jam to, but the cool thing is that I think just gives it an added flair is that the whole OST was created by Taito's in-house band at the time, Zuntata. And so like it was an in-house band doing music for their games that they were creating.
That's good.
That's super cool.
That's good. That's really good.
It's relatively playable today for an arcade title since it also came out on consoles.
Yep.
And it came out for the mobile devices as well. Now, both the both the home console and mobile device versions pale in comparison. Some are worse than others. I think the 2011 mobile version is actually really bad because you have to use your thumbs to do all of that.
That'd be so hard. Like, that'd be impossible.
Yeah.
Not for me. Not for me.
Like, not possible. And so it's virtually unplayable. But the Sega, it's not Genesis, Saturn version was doable. And then I believe that they also released it in various compilations over time. So it could even be played through the PlayStation Store, maybe, and other things like that. It'd be a great Switch title.
Yeah,
I didn't look into it, but do we know if the consoles are just like straight ports? Because this game felt so arcadey, and so I know you get continues, but in a world where they didn't at least give you, I don't know, more lives, or I guess you can just get unlimited continues and reset your score and, you know, play it on console and like you lose some of your power-ups and it's still the same. But yeah, I just feel like they would almost need to tweak the game some to make it even feel like a console game.
They didn't tweak it much. It still maintains that arcade flair and feel. You did have limited.
That's too bad.
You did have limited continues, I think, and there were a few other things. They actually have to zoom in a little bit, so you don't have as great of a field of view.
That's
but
rough.
A lot of it, that's what I'm saying. Like, if playing the arcade version is the best experience you're going to have here for sure.
Yeah,
but it's relatively.
I'm really glad we did.
But it's always nice to have various versions, especially in 2021, so that if you can't get a hold of the now non-existent arcade machines, then you can still play it to some degree. It was also cool, but we didn't get to experience it this week, that there is a 2-player mode. It would have been awesome if either of you were over at my house and we were able to play together. It would be nuts. And I wonder if there's any slowdown. I've never really experienced arcade slowdown before.
Not an arcade, yeah. These things pushed it.
Yeah.
I feel like this is the kind of game that would give you 2-player, but then have friendly fire turned on.
Oh,
too many missiles, dude. And if you bump into each other. Rayforce is actually a part of the Ray trilogy. You've got Rayforce as its first game. You've got Ray Storm as its second, and you've got Ray Crisis as its third.
I like that instead of 2 and 3. That's cool.
I think it works. Cool. Ray Storm and Ray Crisis.
Also known as layer section, layer portion,
layer area,
and layer area. Yeah.
Okay.
I love layer area. One of my favorite titles. So, if you want the game for your home,
Oh,
say
no.
for Sega Saturn, it's
Oh.
$34 used or $123 new. But if you actually want the arcade cabinet,
Too bad.
sorry, yeah, too bad, because I could actually not even find an arcade cabinet for sale. On arcademuseum.com, arcade games are usually ranked from 1 to 100. 1 is the least common. It's impossible to find. You're not going to find.
Okay.
100 is the most common. There are tons out there, tons that are selling on a regular basis. Rayforce received a 2. So it is extremely rare. So if you have a cabinet,
yeah,
don't do anything, like
sell it.
I get sell it for
give it to me.
Yeah, sell it for tens of thousands of dollars because this thing is rare.
Wow.
Final thoughts.
Don't shake your head.
Yes, I'm shaking my head. At the end of each and every one of our episodes, we determine whether or not the game gets our vote for New Game Plus status, which is our general thumbs up or thumbs down. It requires 2/3 of the vote to swing one way or the other. And we will go one at a time to talk through this thing. And I just want to remind you some of the games that have NGP status, such as SpongeBob SquarePants Battle for Bikini Bottom.
Deserved it.
And Nancy Drew Last Train to Blue Moon Canyon.
Didn't
Great
deserve
game.
it.
Great game, by the way.
Let's talk about games that don't. Let's talk about games that don't have NGP status that should.
No.
What? There's none.
I don't know.
There's
a lot.
There are a few, but there's not a lot. That being said, we come now to this game, the game called Rayforce, developed by Potato. I'll go second. So if either of you idiots or good guys, I don't know yet, want
yeah, hey,
first.
I'm changing my mind now.
Kenny, you're going
I'll go first. I feel like Nolan doesn't get to go at the end very often.
Okay, but seriously, screw you, Kenny.
Preemptively?
I don't know. If you want to go
screw
first,
you.
Preemptively, and I'll take it back if it's unneeded.
No take backsies.
Okay. Well, I thought this was going to be a very contentious decision. It may not be, but it's a no from me. There are a lot of wonderful things about this game. It's got stunning visuals, on-point sound effects, great-looking graphics, but not only does the gameplay lean too much into this gimmick, and let's be real, the lasers are a gimmick.
Pew, pew.
But all of the worst things about arcade games and shoot 'em ups, like when they can go bad, they're bad, are thrown in here. It's so heavy-handed. It's too hard. The mechanics are not clear about like what you need to be doing, because the lasers upon lasers that chase lasers that then fire sub lasers, and there's 14 varieties of that while you're looking at two different layers. And
you're against lasers.
I want my lasers to be straight and to the point. I don't know. Like, there's too many even things to talk about. It makes you look at 5 different areas of the map simultaneously if you want to stay alive and target with your little thing and shoot the things that you're supposed to shoot. All of your skill in the game is either fast twitch reactions or it's learning patterns through repetition. You're not making any kind of like meaningful choice. All your weapon upgrades are the same. You don't get to choose like one weapon or another, which is a really welcome thing in a lot of shoot 'em ups. Like, you're just following this straight thing, and you've got unlimited everything. So you don't. There's no choices to make. It's got the energy of a crazy fun shoot 'em up, but no like heart or soul, and its one unique thing is gimmicky. So, It is actually one of my least favorite shoot 'em ups that we've played.
Holy.
No New Game Plus. That was so long because I thought I was going to have to be defending this game against both of you, but I'm not sure where Nolan landed, so maybe I didn't need to be that over the top. But it gave you lots of things to disagree with, Dustin. So by all means,
prove him wrong, Dustin.
Burn my house down.
Tell him why.
Well, I mean, so everything that Kenny said, but just the opposite, is what's true. This game is one of the best, one of the best shoot 'em ups that we played. style shoot 'em ups that we played. Most certainly the best vertical space shoot 'em up that we played. My most enjoyable one. I think it does everything right from graphics to music. Did I talk while you were going? From graphics to music, the launcher mechanic that Nolan just didn't like, it was so enjoyable to me and provided a whole nother challenge. If it would have just been like a lot of these other vertical space shoot 'em ups or even horizontal ones where it just gives you a secondary weapon that is pretty much the same as the primary, just a little bit different, then it would have been the same as every other game that is in this genre. But they wanted to do something different, and I thought that they did that really, really well, giving you a whole nother challenge and a whole nother layer. And I think that layer was done so well and beautifully at times. Nolan, I want you to remember as you're coming up with your conclusion, that moment where you flew out over a galactic space battle happening meters below you in space, and how beautiful that was. And although you didn't get all the way to the end, to the final boss, taking out Con Human and rescuing humanity, even though you didn't even, Kenny, you did do that?
Yeah, I game this week.
Okay, I'm proud of you.
And the further I got into it, the less I liked it.
He's one of those guys just sticking in another coin, like, all right, let's just get to the
end.
By
the end I was like, you lose all your upgrades slowly over time if you're dying too much, which I get. Like that's how these games ought to be. You should be able to keep them. But I was just suffering through it, like continue, die, continue.
Right. You're
die.
at the forever hold your peace part of your talk. So I think it's an excellent title. I get that these genres are hard, and some of them are gonna just be too hard for some people that are not good at video games. But if you like video games, if you like the arcade, and if you like shoot 'em ups, then play this game with me alone, probably.
I don't like this being in this position. All right, this game is very unique and very creative. They got very creative, and I have to give them credit, especially for the choices that they made on the graphic style and the camera movement and the way you are navigating everything. Like it lined up with the plot, and it just gave you a large variety to look at. And usually you're just looking at black and stars, right? So huge props on that, being creative. Unfortunately, the one mechanic that they went all in on is not good to me. I could not get over it. If it would have been more in the background, no pun intended, where it's there, and I get it. You can argue that I could have played that way, but could you? Because you get kind of overwhelmed if you don't really utilize it. And apparently you lose out on power-ups. I didn't have fun with the game. Shmups usually aren't my thing. It's nothing against the game personally. Like, if a shmup is going to capture me, it's got to be really, really good. And this one might have done it, but that mechanic is the worst. I don't give it New Game Plus. I'm so sorry, Dustin.
Meaning Rayforce is not New Game Plus certified. But what did you think? We had many people write in, and I won't be able to read all of them. We'll read some of them.
He's so depressed.
He's not going to talk to me for a while.
Trevor wrote in saying, long-time listener, first-time commenter here. I just had to write in when I heard you're covering Galactic Attack. Did we play Galactic Attack? Is that one of the titles?
No, it's one of the titles.
Oh, I thought they said the wrong game.
No! I was one of the few who chose a Sega Saturn as my 32-bit system of choice. You were indeed one of the only. And this game is what I saw a meme this week. Someone saying Saturn or Sega Saturn, you didn't fail us, we failed you. Something like that.
Yeah.
And this game is one of a handful that we played over and over on the Saturn. I didn't show off any It didn't show off any 3D capabilities of the system, but maybe that's why it holds up so well and was just a blast back in the day. One thing that made it stand out was a more reasonable difficulty than most shmups. I also felt it captured the feeling of being in space more than most games of this type even attempted to. Keep up the good work.
I thought it was as difficult, if not maybe harder than some shmups. I didn't think it was that easy.
I agree. I felt like it was tough, but maybe the console version's a little different, or maybe we're just worse at these games than we realized.
Yeah, so
either way, these games. Oh, I know he's the outlier, but I don't feel like I'm trash at these games though. I think the space stuff is true.
Kenny, I haven't watched you, but
there's no way
got to be your worst genre.
Yeah.
You're not a quick speed. You're not a quick speed gamer.
There's no way.
Kenny,
I'm not saying I'm like great at it. I'm not trying to say that.
Garbage at it though.
No, I'm mediocre.
There's no way you dodge anything.
You just look at every. Okay, no, I'm surprisingly good at looking at multiple things at the same time.
How many fingers am I holding up? All right, Joey Case said everything about this game made me want to keep playing. Rayforce is a quality game that has aged so well, has quality music, and leaves you only wanting to play more. I kept thinking as I played this game that it gave off Star Fox and Galaga vibes. Galaga and the sense of the incoming enemies, and Star Fox with the busyness of the gameplay and where the enemies were coming from. I could totally see this game being played today and people loving it. Definitely hope it gets NGP plus status. Hey, Joey, it didn't.
Rest in peace.
For Kenny, you Star Fox lovers, Star Fox lovers, I don't know what I said in playback, but did you feel any of that Star Fox vibes? I get it how like it's busy and you kind of sometimes see the ships before you can attack the ships.
No, I'll tell you why. The characterization was missing. The pacing of Star Fox is very cinematic and very...
Well, yeah, this is an arcade game for sure.
Yeah, but...
I could see it.
I mean, it's in space and you're shooting, but, you know... Whatever.
No, it like different things coming at you and different mobility, and yeah, I totally buy it.
Clint said, I cannot believe that this was released in 1994. The way they utilized this space to make everything appear 3D was insane and makes for a supremely immersive experience. The sound design is close behind, and you can hear all the shots and missiles you're firing as they take down enemy crafts. Being an amateur arcade junkie, I can't believe I haven't heard of it. There's nary a better shmup title out there.
Nary.
Even with some of the amazing modern takes. Give me Rayforce and I might never need another shmup title.
Kenny, we are going to get
so weird to me
by our community. You understand that, right?
No, I'll talk about this game with people because there's some really, really good shoot 'em ups, and I love a lot of what this game did, but I'm telling you, it leaned on a gimmick and it just wasn't. I don't know. It's not actually a good game.
Somebody's going to put together a list of all the shmups that we have played, and then you're going to have to go back on what you said, I think. Because I think there's probably a really bad one.
Somebody agrees with me, and I'm waiting for, I don't know, a Garlisle or someone with a voice of reason to come in a little bit more tempered and give some perspective to Dustin's weird religious fanaticism to anything that just is slightly exciting.
I rarely, if never, select the commentary that I'm going to read out loud based on if they give it New Game Plus status or not. I just kind of look for, hey, who's got worthwhile content in here. But I did make sure to include Garlisle's thoughts this week because Garlisle typically gives a very sound approach to things. By the way, Garlisle has played and given commentary for almost 100 games now in a row with us.
Insane.
This is what he said, and I haven't read it yet. I haven't read it yet.
Oh. If
he gives a more balanced, if he's more on y'all's side, I will be a little bit less bitter. But if not, then go to.
Wait, I'm excited you haven't read this. This is fun. Go.
Garlisle said this one leaves me in a weird place.
Bad start.
When I look at this, I see a really standard, if maybe a bit subpar, sci-fi STG. Is STG shoot 'em up
the gun
for real?
There's no way that's what it is.
It's probably shooter game. Shoot. All the hallmarks are there. Part-based boss design, kinda boring attacks, downer story, not too much unique going on. The soundtrack's good, but that's standard for this genre too. And although it also runs nice and smooth, I almost wish it would slow down sometimes because visual clarity is a bit weak here. It's being held up by one gimmick that fuels its entire scoring system, and I don't super enjoy it. Yet, having said that, I'm gauging it from 2021's standards, where there's tons of similar but straight up better games. But this is a 1994 game predating Don Pachi and was well ahead of its time. It's not hitting anywhere near my list of personal favorites in this genre, and I think you can do much better, but I definitely respect this one.
Okay, I haven't read it. I thought I did, but I hadn't. But super true on the visual clarity. I got hit by a bunch of BS stuff that was like blending in with the background. Like, come on.
Yeah. I would love to stream for people this week if they would like to see. I'm not the best. I think Carlisle is even better than me. I was watching him stream some, but like, again, I'm not.
I'll watch Justin.
I can stay.
Does
alive.
the fact that he brought some nuance to this conversation salvage our relationship at least?
No. He would have had to talk about how it's trash. But it's not just you. Both of y'all did it. So
hey, no, you're my friend still.
Well, I'm both of y'all's friends.
Okay.
I mean, there's no reason to talk about it. Just we have I should not have given your childhood shmup a pass because
Star
this
Soldier?
game is I
you?
mean, it's not near. Yes, that game did. Darius Twin did not. Y'all are not giving any of my shmups. I don't ever want to play shmup with y'all again, just because y'all aren't good at them and don't appreciate them and aren't. And
no,
don't like
I do want to. Give me one where I have to make choices and get
here's
like
a free
anything
breakfast taco
other.
card.
Give me that, and I'll meet you in the middle. All right, we are setting aside this spectacular game called Rayforce, and we are not randomly selecting the next retro game of the week. We only do that on this occasion. We even do it with Patreon pools and director pools, but for this next episode, we are bringing on one of our newest directors, Wardanis, and he got to hand select the game that he would like to be playing next week because he is supporting us on Patreon at our director level. You'll hear more about that in just a bit from Kenny, but the game that he selected for us to play this week is a futuristic racing video game developed by Nintendo and published by Nintendo for the Super Nintendo.
Nintendo?
Quit saying Nintendo.
It came out in 1990 in Japan, 1991 in North America. It is the start of the series? Yes?
I would assume.
It is the start of the series that continued all the way till its climax in 2004 with a game called Climax, which the game that we're playing now though is the first in its series, and it is called F-Zero.
Falcon Punch.
Why that though? Oh?
Yeah, you didn't realize that? Okay, Captain Falcon is the pilot of the car.
Did Kenny know this?
I had no idea.
Okay, so
Really?
that's embarrassing. That's embarrassing.
Y'all tripping.
Does the car show up in Smash?
Not as a move, but there's a stage.
It would have been amazing if he could summon a car to run across somebody.
Big Blue is a track in those games and has an incredible sound or music soundtrack.
So since we knew it was the game of the week, Hookshot already prepared our first play graphic, and it had a character up front with Kenny's face on it, and I didn't know why there was that character because in none of the artwork do you see that guy really. You just see the space cars that are driving.
Yeah.
But now that makes sense that Kenny's face was on Captain Falco.
Captain Falco, y'all, this will be something.
Yeah, that's more embarrassing than me not knowing
Wardanis.
he was in the car.
Wardanis, we're excited to have you as a part of our episode next week. Everyone else, grab a copy of F-Zero, the first in the series that ends with Climax, and play it along with us this week.
Join us in Discord for a climactic conversation that we'll be having about this game. I'm sure there's a lot of salt. And I'm ready for it. I will respond to every single comment. Don't at me, just talk to me, and I'll respond.
Nice.
But join us in Discord.
So it's our safe source.
What's that?
Discord,
our safe source.
Yeah.
Yes. So go to ngppodcast.com, click join us in Discord to get started in the discussion.
Or you can hop on our money source. Don't do one, do both. Join us at patreon.com if you either agree with me or agree with Dustin. Whatever your opinion is, you should be a supporter of the show. Like our amazing cast of producer-level supporters, Marley and Austin, Ben, Bethany Fox, Bro Jim, Carrie, Dan the Man, Francesca, Corey, Maxima, Mr. Lattes, Secret Duck of Evermore, Shauna, Unbedavable, William, and Zion. Or if you are really feeling generous, you can go way above and beyond, like our amazing director-level supporters, Antonin, Garlisle, and Wardonis, like we mentioned. Big shout out to our newest patron, Big Toe Ooze.
Big Toe
who
Ooze.
is
welcome.
Joining us.
That's a good name.
On the Patreon bandwagon. Thanks so much to all of you guys. We appreciate your vote of confidence.
Along with Patreon, you can visit any of our social media sites. That's Facebook, Twitter, Twitch, and YouTube. All of those links are in the show notes. If you're listening to this on the day of release, we are doing a live stream tonight on YouTube for the very first time. So we're super excited about that. Join us and thousands of other people that are subscribed to us on YouTube. We couldn't say that 2 weeks ago, but we can say that now.
That's true.
And listen directly on any podcast provider of your choice. Make sure you subscribe so that you are the first to get new NGP episodes. And while you're at it, leave a kind rating and review. This unfortunate episode was edited and produced by our good friend Tom Tate. Join us next week as we play and probably poorly rate a game with Wardonis. It's called F-Zero. Until then, I'm still salty.
I'm still sure it's a gimmick.
Show me your moves.
Gimmicks are not bad if they're good. And this has been New Game Plus.